Everybody, long time no see. It's been about 3 months, I think, so quite a while, but I'm back with a very quick book review. I'm going to try to make it very short for me. And this is "ANTKIND" by Charlie Kaufman. I won't do any spoilers or anything. I will read a quick quote at the end, and I'm going to show you what the book looks like in terms of construction. If that's something you're into. I am, so I'll keep it at the end if you're not. Very quick, I thought this was an excellent read. If you've seen Kaufman's movies and you haven't read this, this is exactly what you'd expect him to write. It's a postmodern satirical novel. The humor in here is extreme, and not in a bad way. I mean, there's a joke on every page. It's extremely funny. It reminds me of if David Lynch directed Abbott and Costello or something like that. The humor often reminds me of Kurt Vonnegut or Mark Twain. It's dry and witty. It's very funny. This gets compared to Foster Wallace, and I've even seen Adam Levin. And yeah, that's definitely in some ways that it's structured, but this is a distinct. It's structured in those authors' styles to a degree, but the humor is much more in line with like Vonnegut and Twain, and of course Kaufman as well. It definitely comes through. This is a book about a crazy, neurotic, overly politically correct to his detriment film critic named B. Rosenberg or Rosenberg. He watches a 3 month long claymation movie by an old, decrepit filmmaker, like over 100 years old, and he thinks it's the greatest thing he's ever seen. The movie gets destroyed except for one single frame, and he has to remember the movie basically. He has to do it. It's his life work. And the rest of the book is him trying, often to his detriment, to remember the film. And it gets very crazy by the end, but it's very funny. I thought this was hilarious. Like this is one of the funniest books I've read in a long time. The think just off the top of my head, the funniest book before this was Norwood by Charles Portis. He's always hilarious, but this is like amazingly funny. I mean, I was like in tears sometimes. I had to reread sections just because he writes so well. He gets you into the headspace of these neurotic characters so well, and the jokes are always so funny. Like the gags that are set up are can take a long time for them to pay off, and they're really funny. So, man, I mean, I know Kaufman has humor in his movies, but he is funny, man. This he's got to write another comedy like this. At the same time, this book does get very deep. It deals with your memory. It deals with I feel sometimes like ownership, the concept of ownership, especially in Hollywood. It's critiquing a lot of different things, and even though the book gets a little crazy, one of my few criticisms, it's a 700-page book. It's like by page 400, 450, I was like, okay, we in a often in a postmodern novel, you feel like the plot's not really going anywhere, but really I feel it's going on in the background, and that's definitely the case for this book. There's a lot. There's actually an intricately plotted story that after you read this, uh, there's a lot of like I guess you could say links between things that happened that you can really go back and look at. And but so that's cool. Don't get me wrong. There's a clever story here, but at the same time, the jokes, even though they're funny, after like a couple, you're like, okay, I got like 200, 300 pages left. Like it just goes on a little too long. I feel. Some people said this was like overstuffed, or something like that, and I can kind of see that he's trying to pull a lot off here. But at the end of the day, I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm bored to tears reading this. I was just kind of like, all right, I get it. So I think overall, it's a great novel. It definitely rewards you to read it again, and I certainly will because there's more you can pick up on. But also just the humor. I mean, I'm sure in a year I'm going to want to read this thing again. It's so funny. So let me read you a quote real quick. It's my favorite quote. There's some strong language, but there's a lot of profanity in this book. But this is the film critic. He has it's again. This is a very like meta layered satirical book. There's a lot of layers to this. So it's like the main character in here. Um, he has like a film blog that he constantly checks. That of course like no one reads. He's constantly checking it throughout here. So he goes on. He posts something online to his blog, and he says, "I posted to my blog. B is for blog and wait. I do not currently get a lot of traffic on my website. The last piece that received any comments was entitled 2010's Dumb Dreams for a Dumb World, a brutal but necessary takedown of Christopher Nolan's Inception, to which a reader called Smell My Nuts responded, You're a cum bucket. spelled Y-O-U-R. To which I wrote, "Thank you for your interest in my work. Notice how I've used your. This, as an attributive adjective, is its correct spelling. You would have been better served to write "you're a cumbucket," which "your" is a contraction of "you" and "r." But no matter, I certainly heard your intended disapproval loud and clear. Allow me to respond to each of your salient points. Number one, I have never functioned as a cumbucket. I am, perhaps to my detriment, exclusively heterosexual and have never served as any sort of receptacle for semen. I do not, however, consider it an insult to be thought of as such. Indeed, history is rife with brilliant and essential cumbuckets, as you call them. I would consider myself very honored to be counted among them. I wish you all the best in your future intellectual pursuits. To which he wrote, "Ha ha 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 ha, faggot." I responded, "Perhaps I did not express myself with enough clarity, so indulge me as I make another stab. I am not gay, and I tell you this only as a matter of fact, not in an attempt to distance myself from the gay community, with which I am on wonderful terms. Many of the world's greatest poets, artists, philosophers, and scientists were gay, and as I stated earlier, I would consider myself honored indeed to count myself among them." To which he wrote, "You're a cocksmoker." At this point, I thought of giving up. This fellow doesn't seem to be hearing anything I'm trying to say to him, but I couldn't let it go without at least 3 more attempts to reach him. Okay, that's fucking hilarious to me. I mean, like, I read that like 3 times. If that will give you an indication of how satirical this book is and how neurotic that character is and that kind of character he's trying to parody. But that's not the gimmick of this book. This book isn't just that. There's a lot more going on, but you have that sort of character study going on. It's just really funny. I mean, there's a million other hilarious quotes in here, but that was one of them. All right, so that's basically the review. I really enjoyed it. It's a little long in the tooth sometimes, and of course it gets off the rails. It's Charlie Kaufman, but yeah, I recommend it. It's hilarious. Real quick, this is what the book looks like without the dust jacket on. It's just a black book, ANTKIND, Charlie Kaufman, and it is a glued spine. I don't like to see glued spines pretty much ever. I mean, of course, it's common, but sewed spine, of course, for a hardcover is what you want. They just last longer. This is printed on acid-free paper, which is nice. Real quick, I'll show you the paper. So, yeah, that's nice to have acid-free paper. Not the greatest hardcover. It's a decent hardcover. I'm sure it's not going to be destroyed or anything, but I've seen better, So anyways, that's just the quality of the book, as well as the dust jacket. It's already kind of like getting banged up, and I've been kind of taking care of it. It's a little on the cheaper side, but it's not a piece of junk. Anyways, all right, that's all. I'll be back with the next book I'm reading. As a matter of fact, it's right here, Infinite Jest. This one weighs like 63 pounds. I started it the other day. I've been wanting to read that for, I don't know, like 12 years. So, yeah, I'll be back with that one. All right, peace out.